In Privacy Watch now, government computers in 22 Texas towns are being held hostage by ransomware. The state's Department of Information Resources said that the coordinated attack happened on August 16th, and many of the local governments still have not been able to get back online.
For more CNET, senior producer Dan Patterson is here with us on set. So can you explain what happens to computers when there is a ransomware hit, like we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely, Don. Ransomware is one of the most fascinating and virulent forms of malware. This can lay dormant on your computer for days, weeks, or months and be triggered by something like a keystroke or your face looking into a camera. But what it does is lock down your computer, pops up a message that says, unless you pay a certain amount in Bitcoin, your files are encrypted and lost forever. So this can spread quickly and easily without coordination, or it can be targeted and was in fact developed. Many of these strains of malware, of ransomware, were developed as what we call cyber weapons, intentionally offensive pieces of malware.
So a reboot doesn't work in that case? No. Turning it off and turning it back on again, no.
In fact, turning your computer off and turning it back on again could trigger your ransomware. Clicking on a link could cause your computer to download an .exe or a .loli file that also triggers ransomware, and then it spreads across networks and infects other computers.
And clearly it can be very profitable. I remember when you were here talking about WannaCry, and we could sort of watch the WannaCry ransomware go across the globe as it affected, sort of computer systems. In this case, do we know what the hackers are asking for?
This is a particularly interesting question at a particularly interesting period of time. So the hackers and the malware creators are asking for pretty typical things, a certain amount to be paid in Bitcoin. But there are challenges with what is being asserted in Texas right now. So the Texas and some federal agencies have asserted that this is a coordinated attack and that there is one threat actor. However, there is no evidence, there is no attribution, and in cybersecurity, attribution is incredibly challenging. It's also incredibly important. Just like if you think about kinetic war, if you say Spain attacked us, but it was actually Portugal, the consequences can be severe. So if you get it wrong, and if you rush to say this is the threat actor who did this, and this is the weapon they used, and you get it wrong, the consequences in cyber can be really severe. We saw just last month, in late June, early July, we saw a cyber attack targeting a drone in the Strait of Hormuz. The United States attributed this to Iran. Iran pushed back on that, and the United States countered with a proportional response kinetically, meaning we used actual weapons. So in that case, we felt confidence. However, what I'm telling you is that if you rush this information out without providing evidence that can be vetted by other cybersecurity experts, and we've done that all this morning, the consequences are really pretty big.
How big a deal is this particular attack?
This particular attack is massive. In fact, I have my phone out here because I was just texting with a source at IBM Security who told us that, we've seen these ransomware attacks up until today hit about 22 cities in the United States. And let's talk to someone in Baltimore, because they will tell you when ransomware hits in a big city, it causes big problems. 23 additional cities, almost doubles, it more than doubles the amount that we saw prior. So we should see this, Don, as a warning shot of what is to come.
But are these typically successful?
Yes, very.
I think Baltimore ended up paying the ransomware, didn't they?
Yes, your computer is locked down, encrypted. You do not get your files back. So if you're working on a paper or you're writing a story here at CBS, that can be a pain in the neck. But if you run a city, lives are at stake. Think about emergency response vehicles. Think about even you're paying a traffic ticket. This is a really big deal. This is, I'll say it again, this is a warning shot of what is to come. Think about a ransomware attack on Election Day.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Big deal.
what's the solution? Is it closed systems? Is it more encryption? How do we solve this issue, or are we just sitting ducks for these people?
We don't. So look, the challenge here is that one of the first waves of ransomware that we saw was in 2017. This was developed, a piece of code called Eternal Blue. This is explicitly a cyber weapon that was developed by the NSA. They lost control of this cyber weapon. This would be equivalent of losing a kinetic weapon. It was stolen by a group that called themselves shadow brokers, which led to WannaCry, Bad Rabbit, and a wave of ransomware attacks that took down Britain's healthcare system. So Don, to answer your question, what we can do here is patch and update your systems, use different passwords on every single system that you use two-factor authentication on every system that you use, do not reuse your passwords, and never click on links in emails. So
what about the large institutions, like you said, the cities, the hospitals, the universities, the federal government, the election system? What can be done about that? Because you have so many thousands, sometimes millions of people who have access to those computers, and surely there are bad actors who can get into there as well.
Yeah, Don, that's a great question. The first thing you can do is insist that every computer system is updated immediately, especially if it's Windows or Windows 7. Update your computer to Windows 10. Talk to your IT department. But really, Don, when I talk to cyber experts, I just got back from the Black Hat Cybersecurity Conference. They say that cyber cannot be a tack-on or an add-on. It has to be built from ground up in institutions, and we need cyber literacy just like we need regular literacy, because we are so dependent on computers right now. To answer your question, what can be done about this? Not much after it happens. You can prevent it, but not much after it happens.
And what about obtaining a criminal conviction or a case or anything? I mean, how impossible is that?
Well, many of these strains of ransomware have been modified by bad actors and threat actors in other countries. So we can try to extradite them, but if they're from countries that don't extradite,
Yeah.
And you brought up Baltimore. Baltimore, and you can correct me, but as I understand it, they did pay some ransom, and that was a while ago. Are they still feeling the effects?
Yeah, I just spoke with a friend of mine who works in cybersecurity but also lives in Baltimore, and she said, look, just doing simple things like paying a traffic ticket or getting your birth certificate, very simple things that all of us take for granted in our municipalities, are wiped out. Those things don't instantly come back.
This and this cannot be hacked.
The pen, Don, is mightier than the cyber.
Clearly.
Very good, Dan
Write that
Patterson.
down.
Yes.
Great to see you.
Thanks
Dan,
a lot.
thank you.